Hi, everybody. Dan Illman, Matt Bernier. The feature race at Kentucky Downs on a pretty big Saturday afternoon of racing is race number 10. Let's take a look at the field for the mile-and-a-half Kentucky Turf Cup. It is a Grade 3. It is a big field full of familiar names and a really competitive, evenly matched group.
You got to make a decision at some point. You know, some of these horses have tried this racetrack in the past. Some of them haven't. Some horses take to it, some don't. It's an odd configuration, to say the least. It's a fun configuration. It's just very difficult to handicap who's going to be able to take to it and who's not.
The number one Postulation has experience over European turf courses, a winner at the Curragh before coming to North America, so maybe he'll just fit right in over the European configurated turf course at Kentucky Downs. This horse has just blown away his competition in his last two starts, and you gotta say, it's been all about the distance.
Yeah, the stretch out has been the difference maker for him. He did get a beautiful trip in the American St. Ledger, but that doesn't mean that he didn't run. He picked his feet up in a big, big way. And like you said, his past two races, they are far and away the best that you have on the page. And who knows, maybe you get a forward move.
Mook is in really sharp form for trainer Kieran McLaughlin. He's won his last two starts, and the improvement has coincided with him stretching out in distance. He's got a lot more tactical speed, perhaps, than Postulation. Postulation can stalk, he can be close, so can Mook. Mook, though, can come from a little further out of it.
I thought Bravo did a good job to get this horse to relax a little bit, because it seemed like he wanted to go early. There was no pace in that most recent race up at Saratoga. He finally relaxed. I thought he was determined. All things considered, that had a pretty perfect trip. But I don't want to hold that against him. I think he's a nice horse, and he's another one on the short list of contenders.
Good buyers, to be sure, 96 and 97. Michael Maker is very well represented in this race. He has won the last two editions of the Kentucky Turf Cup. I believe the Big Hoss got it done last year. Oscar nominated, scratched out of a restricted race at Kentucky Downs earlier in the week to run here, and why not? He's won at Kentucky Downs in the past, the very rich Dueling Grounds Derby. It's just that Oscar nominated at short prices, I always like to take a swing against him when he's in against graded horses.
And it feels like he's going to get bet in here simply because he has the experience and the victory over the Kentucky Downs turf course when he won last year the Dueling Grounds Derby. I think he's a contender, but I agree with you. To me, he just feels like an underlay, especially when you look at it. Look, he goes out and dances all the dances. He's probably not really a grade 1 kind of horse, but it's hard for me to knock a horse that he just goes out and tries.
Been very well managed also. They made a lot of money with him. Let's see what the Timeform U.S. Pace Projector has in store for this mile-and-a-half turf event. We've got the 6 Zulu Alpha on the lead. Zulu Alpha's not been on the lead in his two starts in North America, which means this pace might be kind of slow, but I like what Zulu Alpha has done against weaker horses. The question is he ready for the big boys?
Yeah, we'll find out. We'll also have to wonder, is he ready for this sort of distance as well in this kind of odd configuration? But boy, when he broke his maiden here, he was a bit wound up in the gate early on. He missed the break. He was still 100 lengths the best. He shot up the inside. And that most recent start, I know it was a non-winners of 2. He did it like a good horse. He put the boots to the field. He, to me, could be the X factor in the race. He could be anything.
Enterprising, also trained by Michael Maker, has really emerged as a nice runner. Fourth in the Arlington Million last time out at 80-1, beaten less than a length, in tight a little bit in the stretch. Personally, and we still have yet to see how this million is going to play out, I wasn't in love with the race.
I'm with you. I don't think it was the strongest we've ever seen. I thought, all things considered, it was a beautiful ride from Corey Lanerie. He was down on the inside, saved some ground, and a little bit tight, probably about the 16th pole, but he was able to get through. I thought it was a perfect trip that day. I don't particularly want to bet him off of that, and he has the highest last out buyer with a 100.
The Pace Projector had the 6 on the lead. I'm going to disagree.
Okay.
I think that the 9 one go, all go has one way to go, and that is right to the top. And you know something? He's a lot better than I've given him credit for. He dug in pretty gamely last time out at Ellis Park, going a mile and a 16th. He's always going to be a little bit strange with his lead changes and awkward in the stretch, but he's fast, and if you give him an inch, he might be able to take this field all the way, and he's won at Kentucky Downs.
He's won here in the past. I think he is a bit of an underrated horse. He's always going to be goofy, and you know what? With all these horses, don't hold any lead changes against them at Kentucky Downs because that stretch run goes on forever and a day. I think they have one way to go with him. I agree with you. I'd be surprised if he's not outright on the lead. He's pushing the lead throughout.
I thought Nessie had a nice trip at this distance. 3 starts back at Churchill Downs, in behind the leaders while saving ground. And once he came to the outside on the turn, he settled it very quickly. He was okay last time out in the Johns Call Stakes. If you remember, that was a race with 0 pace, and Infinite Wisdom just walked the dog on the lead. Nessie did some running to finish second.
And he's got that good tactical speed. He can be just in behind the pace setters if you think he can take this thing over as they turn for home. He's in good form right now. The distance isn't going to be an issue for him. I'd like to see him run a little bit faster.
Maker has St. Louis, who was third in the Johns Cole behind Nessie, and just watching that race, I thought Nessie ran better simply because St. Louis was close to that pace. He's supposed to run second, I think.
I agree with you. I also wonder if this horse is just a notch below some of the better horses in here.
That's a very, very good point. Lucky Ramsey is the number 2, and he might be a notch below as well. He's taken a big step up in class, a winner of 2 of his last 3 starts, however.
I suppose if he replicates that run 2 back with the 89 Beyer, he's got a puncher's chance, but I still think he's slow.
Crescent Drive got pace at 1 mile and a 16th last time out. He roared by the field. He is a solid 89-90 Beyer horse. He's going to have to run faster, and this distance is somewhat of an unknown.
You have to respect anything Tom Amos throws out there. I just don't like this horse in the spot.
So we've covered all the horses in the body of the race, I believe, but it's time for our picks. The horses we haven't covered. Let's throw it out there. Bullard's Alley ran so well in this race last year against
the Big Hoss.
Against the Big Hoss. He ran so well. I really liked the effort. I couldn't wait, and I've been chasing and chasing and chasing, and he hasn't won since. What did you think of his last race, the American St. Ledger? Because I know you were a little bit disappointed.
Well, I liked him that day. I thought he was interesting because his run 2 back in the Singspiel up at Woodbine, I thought he just moved a little bit too early, and it was one of those rare instances where I thought, maybe if Javier could do it again, he would have waited. The American St. Ledger, I thought he was in a good position, all things considered, and then the pace setter, I don't know what happened, if he got spooked or whatever, but he took a right-hand turn right into Bullard's Alley. Next thing you know, Bullard's Alley's 12 paths off the rail, and Irad took care of him after that. He didn't beat him up. I basically drawn a line through it, and I would have loved to have known. I'm not suggesting he would have beaten Postulation, but if he's able to run, I think he at least gets a piece.
You weren't disappointed in the effort. You were disappointed in the circumstances.
The circumstance,
You're supposed to draw a line through that race, because if you watch the head-on of that race, he was completely eliminated at a key portion of that race. You take that race out, he's got 3 mid-90 Beyer speed figures. He loves the turf course, and the distance is no sweat. And he's going to be a price in this race, Matt. I think Bullard's Alley is a very interesting horse. You're going 8-1, 11-3. Do you think Taglib's a little bit off form? I mean, he popped a couple of triple-digit Beyer speed figures over the winter and into the spring at Gulfstream Park. I thought the Man of War was a good effort. I think he could poke some holes, though, in his last 3. The Belmont Gold Cup, he just didn't fire at all. I don't know if it was the 2 miles. I thought that would be okay for him. The Arlington Handicap was just a really disappointing and perplexing effort. And while he was second best last time out in the American St. Ledger, it just seems like he's lost his speed. He had more tactical speed, and I wonder if that's a sign of a horse going off form, losing a little bit of that tactical speed. I do believe that when he's right, he's the best horse in this race.
Probably from a talent standpoint. I think he's off form right now, but I also think he's a little bit on the dirty side. I mean, the American St. Ledger, there wasn't a ton of speed in there. You look at what he went. He went 27 for the opening quarter. So like you say, maybe he's just completely lost it all early on. But Postulation had a giant jump on him, and he tried. He ran. 2 back, I think the Arlington Handicap is a little bit sneaky in there, where he had a bit of a trip. He didn't have the cleanest of goes. Okay. The 2 mile race, I don't want to hold that against him. Then you're left with the Man of War when Zukova freaked out. She loved that, soft going that we had. Then you got the Pan Am, and I thought he ran just fine in there. So I wonder if it's a combination of things. I do think he's a little bit off of what he was earlier this year down at Gulfstream, but at the same time, I don't think he's without a puncher's chance in here.
I think a lot of the jocks at the back of the pack rightfully panicked in the American St. Ledger when all that banging around was going on, because all of a sudden you saw them move from the back of the pack. And Taglib got held up in and among horses with about 3 furlongs out while Postulation had the clear run. I'm not saying he would have run down Postulation on the stretch. He might have made it a little bit closer. The Timeform US Pace Predictor doesn't have him on the screen. I don't think he's winning with that kind of trip. I'm hoping he can be a little bit closer. Jose Ortiz has them out. Give us numbers.
8-1, 11-3.
11-7, 1-3 for me in the Grade 3 Kentucky Turf Cup, race number 10 at Kentucky Downs. It has an approximate post time of 5:42 Central, and if you are betting the Kentucky Downs card from home, 10% win place takeout on 10 select tracks, $300 cash bonus for the remainder of the summer. Learn more at drf.com/take10, 5:42 Central for the Kentucky Downs Turf Cup.